Good evening, donks, and welcome to episode 8 of Just Bleed Radio. Tonight we'll be talking about the big event, Bellator 300, and UFC Fight Night Dawson versus Green. I'm Dave, and I'll be hosting tonight, along with Dangermouse. You want to say hi, Dangermouse?
Hi, donks.
And Austin. Austin.
Hello?
Yeah. You say hi.
I did.
All
Hello,
right.
dogs.
I think we'll hop right into Bellator 300, and then we'll do some UFC after that, unless there's any other pressing news or information tidbits you guys want to bring up.
The only opinion I have on Bellator is I didn't see it, so I have nothing to say on it.
All right, Austin, anything outside of those that you want to bring up before we get into it?
What happens after with the Bellator purchase of Bellator being purchased by PFL or the parent company, or what could potentially happen with their roster?
Mm-hmm.
Fighters that you would like to see, I guess, in the UFC, or odds of however many stay with PFL, or fighters that would do better in the PFL versus the UFC, I guess would be interesting to talk about. Because we just had their 300th event.
Did you listen to Coker's post-fight scrum?
He was non-committal on it, if I remember correctly, on what was going to happen. Like, he's keeping everything close to the chest.
It sounds like everything's still kind of up in the air.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing, is that nobody knows. That you ask the fighters, the majority of them are kind of like, it's like, well, shit, none of us know anything, so we're kind of like, you can tell a little bit that they're agitated, some of them. Like Johnny Eblin wasn't a fan of it. A couple of the other fighters are there. I mean, they just re-signed Cyborg for this fight, and there's a plan for her to fight Liam McCourt. And then there's also ideas that they are looking to either run them separate. And there's reasons that you could possibly want to do that, if you're trying to just keep them separate, but then kind of just do the cross promote kind of situations like Bellator was already doing with Ryzen. It'd be interesting to see what the possibilities could be. I mean, right off the bat, if you're just kind of trying to do both of them, I'd imagine it's because you have contracts negotiated, TV deal broadcasts that they have to kind of keep committed to. Probably to help run out some of the other contracts that they didn't want to use or pay for, maybe, because they paid it. I think the number is that Bellator is valued at 500 million. And if I had told you that, would you guys have said that number if the valuation was there?
I wouldn't argue it.
So I wouldn't have said it was 500 million. I don't know. Yeah. But no, it'd be something to kind of think about or discuss. That other than that, there's not much else that was going on besides, Dylan Dennis potentially pulling out, but then not being actually pulling out, even though we don't know, because God damn it, it's Dylan Dennis.
Yeah.
That's about it.
So who are some Bellator fighters you'd like to see to go to the UFC, and some that you'd like to see go to like a PFL type organization, should that happen?
If Islam doesn't move up, I would like to see Usman go to the PFL and kind of reign over there. That would be interesting to see him and Olivier Abenressier, or OAM compete against each other, both predominantly being kind of like Usman in his most recent fight against Premise. He looked a little lackadaisical, not super sharp, a little more defensive. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but it seemed like he was just like, I'm here to win. I'm not trying to risk anything. He got clipped a little bit, but he predominantly won
we'll
the
talk
match.
about that when we get into the fight card. Right.
Yeah. But Usman for sure. Usman for sure would be in PFL if Islam doesn't eventually move up or retire. because he's only 25. That'd be fun to have him in there. There's a couple others, but I'll let you guys kind of speak on that one real quick.
I guess if you got Usman, I think I'd probably go with Yaroslav Amosov, and I would send him right to the UFC and like to see what he can do. He's looked better and better, and I'd like to see him against some of the best in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. Are you very familiar with the Bellator roster? You can get, Ryan Bader. You can have Brian Bader on your team, Dangermouse.
Funnily enough, I was going to say Ryan Bader is the only one I can think of. So off the PFL with Ryan Bader, I guess he's already had a UFC.
He probably
he
would.
could actually probably win that.
Yeah, I say get in the $1 million tournament. Yeah, what the hell? Why not?
Yeah.
Well, Linton Vassell was supposed to fight him, but I guess that whole catastrophe of him not being licensed, and then I believe that was the case, and then they couldn't find an opponent that Paramount was willing to pay for, I guess, so they just scrapped the fight altogether. And it'd be interesting to see Linton Vassell as a heavyweight, not inside the UFC, but in the PFL. It'd be nice to see him get paid too, because that dude's been fighting for a while too. Oh, all the bantamweight division either going to the UFC or just being absorbed into the PFL and then having a bantamweight division.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
All right, so with that, let's move on to the Bellator 300 card itself. I wasn't really too interested in the prelims. Do you have anything from the prelims, Austin?
It's Bellator. I looked at some of the salaries there, and some guys fighting at 5 and 5, some guys at 10. If I'm not mistaken, the majority of those cards, I don't think any of them got over $50,000. If I'm not mistaken, for the undercard. But just I guess that's normal, Yeah.
All right, so since we don't really care about that, the undercard, it's nice. Like 5-5's not the worst for a Bellator undercard. A lot of these guys have terrible records, or they're like brand new.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. I was mistaken. There is a couple that are like 50, 60, and 75,000. They had somebody that was, where is it? 5 and 5. She was 5,000 to win, 5,000 to show the opening fight. Jackie Cataline versus Lorena Santos, and the fighter who showed up, who was to show $5,000, beat the $35,000 fighter. Yes, she got a $5,000 win bonus.
MMA, man.
Yeah, funny.
All right, so we'll just get right into the main card. Starting off with Liz Carmouche versus Ilima-Lei Macfarlane. You have thoughts on that fight, Austin?
Ilima-Lei, just the whole weight thing kind of threw her off. You could tell she wasn't ready, I don't think, mentally for the fight. She was in there. She was trying. I mean, but Liz just looked like she was just her big sister. Legitimately didn't really get affected by most of the strikes, and then just was eating whatever Ilima-Lei threw at her. I mean, it was hard to kind of tell, but it looked like just Ilima-Lei just didn't look like she was there mentally. I don't know if that was because of the weight miss. I don't know if it's because we didn't see her perform to her best because of this being potentially her last fight or whatever was going on. She hasn't been there mentally for a minute, so her fighting her best friend. I don't know to you guys. It just kind of looked like they were sparring for a minute, and then the injury came, and it didn't even look like she even threw the kick that hard. She just kind of like planted her leg, and it hit at the right angle, caused the injury, and that was it. Like it's kind of a shitty end of the fight, It just didn't look like the higher level fight that you would see from both women previously.
Interesting. I actually thought that Macfarlane actually looked good. Besides all the stuff going on, I thought she actually won round one, surprisingly with her strikes. Like she was kind of tagging Liz Carmouche up, and like she was kind of putting it on her, like not really hurting her, but landing a lot more. And I
Oh no,
agree with you said about
she
like
had
the
the
big.
volume. She had the volume. I don't think it was. It just didn't look like it was super effective on Liz. It might have just been more like,
No, I don't think
yeah,
it was super effective at all, but I think it was enough to get the round
not
because
true.
Liz landed a couple leg kicks and stuff, but didn't have that much success. But I thought that they were really going to go at it, but for the most part, it looked like almost a sparring session from Liz Carmouche's side, and she was definitely the big sister in the scenario. And I think McFarlane said that herself, and she almost
Hmm.
felt like she was sparring or didn't want to hurt her. And
The one
later in
time
the
she
fight, like
does.
from the second, what's that?
The one time she's like actually throws a strike, it ends up hurting her.
Well, she was beating up her legs from like round two on. Like, I mean, Carmouche just went all in on attacking the leg, and I was kind of freaking out the whole time, like wanting McFarlane to at least try changing stance or something. Like, I thought maybe after round two she wouldn't come out for round three because her leg was so damaged up. Like, she was almost bouncing on one leg, putting all the weight on her back leg because her leg was busted up so bad. And the whole rest of the fight, I mean, I thought McFarlane tried with her striking and some takedown attempts, and she actually looked good. It's just, the big sister thing, and then her leg was just gone from like round two on,
Hmm.
and rounds three, four, and five, Carmouche was attacking it, and eventually it just kind of gave out. But she was basically on one leg from like round two and a half on, and I was impressed with how she actually fought, and disappointed with how Carmouche fought. Like she didn't want to hurt her and just decided to like fuck her leg up. But
Kind of weird how that works out.
yeah. But it wasn't for the title for McFarlane, anyways, and I don't think McFarlane expected to win. Like before the fight, she was talking about after parties, and I think she kind of expected to lose, but I think she went in there and actually did give her all. Like I
Hmm.
don't think she's normally a decent striker at all, and not that she looked like a decent striker, but she landed some stuff early in the fight, and I think a lot of fighters would have quit from that leg pain, and she just fought through, and
That's a
not
fight
the best
IQ
fight,
that
but
I don't think that fight IQ showed up. Because if she should have at least been able to adjust, if not at least look for alternatives. But neither here nor there.
well, I
It
think
is what
maybe
it
she
is.
can't fight. Like she must not be able to fight opposite stance or something. She like never even tried until the very end.
Which is amazing considering that she was a champion.
Yeah, yeah. I think she used to win with her grappling a lot.
Yeah, that didn't seem prevalent in this fight.
Yeah,
Two predominantly grappling heavy fighters. They just
yeah.
cancel it out. It's fine.
So that was a fight. Next we'll get on to Chris Cyborg versus Kat Zingano. I'll go ahead and get us into that a little bit. Chris Cyborg basically beat the shit out of Kat Zingano. And I mean, people were saying that, she's not the same as she was, and, the competition isn't the same. But I actually thought, even though she murked her, she looked really good and is actually improving her skills. Like, Kat got in good on a couple takedown attempts, and every single time Cyborg would crack her on the way in and just kind of like smother her down. But like her timing was excellent. Like, with the uppercut, kind of like Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blades, like on the way in. She didn't have the power to KO her, but every time she'd crack her on the way in and like shove her down. And her takedown defense and her striking and everything was very impressive considering. And I think she maybe hasn't fallen off that much. And it was a good
Yeah.
stoppage overall, impressive performance, I think. What do you think, Austin?
Um, I don't know, man. Am I supposed to be impressed, like with Cyborg's performance over a former bantamweight who, in her like time in the UFC, basically just was a hit or miss in her last couple of fights before coming over to Bellator, where she looked kind of decent, but just not impressive. in her performances against lower level competition. And again, it is women's featherweight that she's now competing at, which wasn't her weight class inside the UFC, but had been, hit or miss with bantamweight and featherweight inside the UFC.
Well, she was always a big 35 or two. Like
Yeah,
she had
so it wasn't-
problems making weight.
Well, I mean, she always made the weight though. So
Yeah, but
know.
it was a big struggle for her.
yeah, it's fair. I mean, you're not cutting a bunch of weight and you're doing it all in fight week. It's not ideal, Plus, she had some health issues during that time. Neither here nor there. She's here in Bellator, and it took 2 years for this fight to even happen. And now we got it, and it is what it is. I mean, does this fight do anything for you? Did it do anything for you? Like when it was announced and it was finally booked and it was finally happening,
Yeah, I'm a Cyborg fan.
Other than because the thing that I would say is like it would be more interesting for us to see her versus Larissa Pacheco or Kayla Harrison.
But that's not even an option.
It may be in the future, but
in the future, it's not right now. It's like I was
she
excited.
wasn't even signed completely a year ago. She went to go box.
I'm
she
not
left
sure
her contract.
about that.
Yeah, she did. She was recently signed to
Bellator
an
also
agreement.
has clause matching rights. Like they have matching rights and shit. Like I don't want to get into all that here.
It's all right. I'm just saying, man. This fight didn't do anything for me.
I was much more excited to see her fight a Kat Zingano than like Arlene Blanco or fucking.
Yeah, but that's
Leslie
the thing
Smith
is like it's like Liz Carmouche. I'm sorry, not Liz Carmouche. What am I saying? It's Kat Zingano. Like it's not like Kat had a belt coming into this, And
No.
it's not like it'd be more interesting to see if it happens, like someone like a Jermaine Durandamine or a Holly Holm coming over to Bellator. Maybe it's a different story, but even then, yeah, I think I'm just more disappointed in the fact that this is all we can have, and it's fine. Kat's in her 40s at a relatively shallow weight class, anyways, and it's not like they're facing the top talent to begin with to get to Cyborg. It's I mean, hell, Amanda or Sarah McMahon just got handled by Leah McCourt, and it's like, okay, well, that's the other person. She seems like a decent fighter too, so it's like, all right, I guess that's who we're looking at next. Did Leah McCourt look impressive against Sarah McMahon? I think she just beat an older Sarah McMahon who was 43. That's what I'm saying. It's like if she was fighting somebody else, I'd have more excitement for it. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all. And it sucks that I have to say that. I like it. I like Kat Zingano, but she's kind of there now. She never really improved on her striking or her grappling. She just always had it. And it's, like your alternative is to make Sarah McMahon fight Kat Zingano. Like no one's gonna really watch that to begin with. And it's the same as like old heads in the UFC where it's like, all right, well, I guess they're old names. I guess we should match them up, You were right. You were right. I called. I said she was not going to show up. I thought she was going to be, showing up like not there, ready for this fight against Kat, and she proved me wrong. I'll give her that. She definitely showed up and she looked impressive. I'll say that.
All right, so now let's get on to the main event. Usman Nurmagomedov against I can't remember this guy's name anymore.
Brent Primus.
Who did he fight? Brent Primus. Man, that's how boring that shit was. I forgot the dude's name. Like,
and you started the show with it.
Yeah. Like this is, I mean, a semifinal for a tournament that probably won't even get finished. I went in here thinking Usman was the future. He's ultra impressive and stuff. And he went in there and I think he 50-45'd him. And he won pretty easily and mostly dominated. But, I mean, it was a safe win. He fought safe and he got a safe win. And it's like, you don't know if the tournament's going to continue for that $1 million. Other organizations might have your eye on you. Like, you might be available. You need to go in there and put a stamp on it and make yourself, like, more marketable. Like, you should have went in there and got nasty and made like a story and made yourself more valuable. and he just went in there and got the safety win. I think he was capable of so much more, so I think it was a disappointing performance. What do you think, Austin?
Well, damn, I didn't think Dana White showed up. I thought,
Yeah,
this contender series or what? No, you did the smart thing. You did the smart thing. You don't know what the future of the organization is. Why risk getting injured or possibly, getting caught and losing? He kept his belt. He got the win, and regardless, he's still a champion. That holds weight. That if I'm coaching Usman, if I'm Javier Mendez, I'm telling him, don't get careless. Don't try to do any over the top shit. We're literally here to win. We have a tournament final that we're either expected to go to, which is up in the air at this point, like you said, Dave, because we don't know what the future holds because Scott Coker was not committal on anything past 301 or maybe even 302. So look, regardless of what happens, he's still the champion. And Bellator has been doing this as of late where they put champions into tournaments and the belt can change hands and then you still have the tournament final that you still get, to have an opportunity at. So he still keeps his belt. He's in the final now. It doesn't matter what happens after this. He can still, if he goes and he's offered an opportunity to go on to the UFC, he'll take it. Regardless of who he takes the match up with, he's going in as a Bellator champion. So I would prefer my fighter.
Yeah, he certainly didn't help his value at all, though.
I don't think it matters at that point because regardless, he's still the champion going into either promotion. They still negotiate for better pay if you come in with a belt, and a standing champion usually gets a better opportunity to negotiate.
Yeah, I think it just looks better entering negotiations if you're coming off a slam dunk performance rather than just kind of a ho-hum.
No, I understand that. I think it's the whole we don't know what's happening next. So why am I going to go out of my way? Because, like you said, the tournament final could be over. He could be healthy now, taking on a fight next quarter, basically ready to take on whoever's available, and then be ready after Ramadan. So if I'm him in his corner, I think he did the right thing. Is it ideal? No. He's taking on a guy who only fights once a year to begin with. Just mind your P's and Q's, get the win, get the victory, and then just be ready for whatever's next. It could be short notice too. So, I mean, it doesn't help that Bellator pushes these tournaments out over a year, which it should just kind of be shortened to a year flat. At a bare minimum, the guys should be fighting at the final by a year end, by a calendar year, because otherwise no one's going to pay attention. I mean, hell, this tournament, I think the bantamweight tournament and the featherweight tournament were like just forever ago, and they were able to get a lot of their tournaments with the heavyweights and light heavyweights finished relatively quickly. But it also depends on the timing and the placement that they put the fights on. Because sometimes they don't even bother to put all the fights on one card. They might just spread them out. So it's like there's no consistency to how they're playing the tournament. And then on top of it, you also don't know what their future is. So Usman did the right thing, regardless of how it ended, I think.
All right, I suppose that's a reasonable take. With that, let's move along to the UFC Fight Night Dawson versus Green fight card. Let's start out on the prelims here. It looks like JJ Aldridge beat Montana De La Rosa by decision to open the card. You have any thoughts on this, Danger?
No, it was pretty emphatic win for Aldrich. I think I did pick against her, which obviously annoys me. But looking at the score, it was 30-27 on all the judges' cards. Nothing to complain about there. I didn't, as it happened, just as the card started, I ended up on the phone with a friend last night, so I was only half paying attention to most of the prelims, to be honest. So yeah, looked like she got the job done. No complaints.
Well, you picked a good undercard to be on the phone on for the most part.
Yeah.
What about you, Austin?
I picked Montana, I'm pretty sure, and I assumed that JJ Aldrich wasn't going to be able to deal with her slightly better athleticism, and I was wrong. Montana didn't have any answers for striking. JJ looked good. I mean, she didn't look impressive, but she looked good. She kept a consistent pace. She kept her hands flowing more often than not with counter shots. And I think the only thing would be is that if she picked up the pace a little bit more, she probably could have put on a little bit more damage and probably finished her. But again, just get the win. It's okay. You don't have to go out of your way. It's the prelims. You're the opening fight of the night. You can be exciting, but if you're just trying to get the win to get onto your next fight and hopefully get through your contract and then go from there, she did the thing that she needed to do. Just win first beyond anything else. And
the Usman Nurmagomedov plan to ultimate success.
Well, at this point, I mean, she's not losing. She's not walking away with half of her paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be the first thing I would say. But if she wanted to get a little bit more notoriety in the UFC, that does matter more. But at the same time, you also have your full check. Good for her. Good for her.
Yeah, I actually enjoy JJ Aldrich fight. Like, she doesn't look like it, but she can kind of scrap, and her fights aren't exciting, but they're really boring either, and it's just a fun watch normally.
I don't know about the corner
decision
though. I didn't think those looked good on her.
Really?
No, I mean, it was an interesting choice.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
I don't
just because
remember
she has
him
really
at all.
pale. I think it's just because of the pale skin. I don't think it worked.
Yeah. I'll have to investigate and get back to you later.
Yes.
All right, so let's move up to the card to Coiling Aori, decision Johnny Munoz. As far as I know, this was just kind of a fight. Austin, do you have anything?
This one was kind of funny because it just looked like they were, Munoz didn't know how to answer more often than not. I think you say it, Alake, or I'm probably butchering that, but yeah, no, he just was the bigger, more well-rounded. I shouldn't say well-rounded. He was the bigger fighter and the more aggressive fighter, but not much to write home about. It was a fight.
Yeah, it was a fight. Any thoughts on that fight, Dangermouse?
Not that haven't already been said.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't pay the very much attention at all. So.
All right, so let's move up to the card where Vanessa Demopoulos decisions Kanako Murata, maybe.
Yeah, it looked quite controversial, to be honest.
I thought so too.
Even Vanessa seemed surprised that she'd won.
Yeah, and I think she got 30-27 on all three scorecards or something.
You what, sorry?
I think she got like a 30-27 on all three scorecards.
Oh, it was 29-28 on all three.
Oh, okay. Well,
what was the
I'm
round
not upset about it.
Well, what was the scores? Do you have them officially, round by round?
No, I don't have them round by round.
I'm gonna be honest. I thought it was the second and the third. I may be getting that wrong. May have to look back at it, but she was, even though she was undersized, you said it was Demopoulos basically just tried to use her athleticism. She wasn't the better striker per se. She just hit a little harder, and she wasn't dominating the grappling game. So I don't know what the judges were looking at that's gave her, maybe it was just the stand up because she did swell her opponent's eye. Was it Murata? So it was just, I thought it was a bad decision. This is weird. I didn't think it was that close. You can give it to Demopoulos, but again, it's not like it's gonna end Murata's career.
Are we getting tired of that post-fight celebration?
I am. I mean, what do you think, Danger?
She's gonna injure someone.
What do you think? Well, It's overdone now.
Yeah.
She needs something.
Yeah.
She needs a new move.
I don't think she's gonna hurt DC, is she? And not Joe Rogan either. They're both jacked as fuck. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes when you get up to our age, you sneeze the wrong way and you're fucking injured and shit. So
oh well, yeah, there is that.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about Daniel, yeah.
yeah. All right, so let's get up to the next fight. Nathan Maness beats the shit out of Mateus Mendonça. Really good performance from Nate Maness. I think a lot of people were sleeping on him. He was an underdog. I don't think they realized it was both fighters going down to 125, so the weight cut was going to be hard on both of them. And Nate's only recent losses are to like a couple of Russian killers, so I think people really slept on him. I thought it was a hell of a performance. He kind of, I don't remember if the other guy went for the takedown, but he got to the ground and he just beat the shit out of him. Like the guy was going for a weird leg lock, but he had like both of his legs, so he like really wasn't going to get it. And then he just fucking smashed the guy in the face while that was happening. And then he gets in like a stat guard and like, I think he knocked him out and brought him back too for a second with like some hellacious
Oh
ground
no,
and
he did.
pound. And
He did. He was out, and then he woke him back up, and then knocked him out again.
yeah, hell
Pretty
of a
much.
performance from Nate Maness. What did you see this one at all, Danger?
Yeah, I saw it. Obviously, I was very disappointed because I had Mendoza or however you pronounce his name.
Yeah,
It's like, what the hell are you doing, man? You're getting smacked in the face, and those body shots as well that were landing at one point when he was trying to bent over trying to get his heel hook in. It was getting his ribs were getting absolutely lit up with I don't know if they were bottom fists or whatever the hell he was hitting with, but they looked painful, and they certainly distracted him from getting his his ankle lock or whatever he was after at the time.
yeah.
But yeah, so not an exciting fight, but what can you do?
Mm-hmm. What about you, Austin?
So my whole thing was I didn't understand why a 5'10" dude would be cutting down to flyweight. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he was not a small man, and I mean, granted, he was fighting a newer fighter, but even then, it's like their records aren't too far apart. I mean, uh, to me, it felt like it was a jujitsu guy who the minute he kind of gets committed to the ground, he's one dimensional in aspects of fighting. Like if he's standing, he's standing. If he's grappling against the cage, he's going to grapple against the cage. Maybe do a little dirty boxing, maybe do a little like trip, here and there. But if he's on the ground, he's going to commit to the ground. And he tried to sell the submission for the ankle, but he had no idea how to get to it because he was constantly getting hit. And he didn't know how to react to that, and it showed. I mean, he literally was just not defending his face, and by the time he was defending his face, he was already getting knocked out. So it was just kind of poor fight IQ. Whereas Nate was just calm. He was fighting a guy with lesser experience, obviously, and he was able to get the win. I just don't know why he needs to be at flyweight when he had a decent record at bantamweight. But again, maybe this is what he wants with his career. Who am I to tell him? If I was his coach, I'd probably tell him to go back up to 135 and not have to worry about cutting weight, be healthy for the fight. He's a big dude. I don't know if this is going to be a long-term thing, so he's trying to probably get a really easy path to the title, which at flyweight, that makes sense. So if it's not for the title, I definitely would recommend him take the bantamweight. But if he's looking to fast track himself to the title shot, why not do it at flyweight? If he can make the weight healthy without looking like a goddamn skeleton, sure. But I'm not going to hold my breath for that.
Yeah, like I think I don't know. He was doing well at 135 before Umar. I think maybe he just took that loss. Maybe he felt out muscled or something went down, but maybe he didn't realize at that time how special Umar might be. And just because you lose to him doesn't necessarily mean you have to change divisions. I think he might want to. I agree. He might want to
Consider it.
revisit that, but he
Yeah.
looked good yesterday.
Yeah, I mean against a
So.
lower level opponent, but neither here nor there. It'd be interesting to see him against the top 10 of the division.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the next fight. Carolina Kowalkiewicz decisions. Diana Belbita. Decent performance, I thought. I thought Carolina's best moments kind of came from like these weird punches from the clinch and shit. Nothing really happened exciting. That might have been the 30-27 card where everyone gave it a 30-27 that I was thinking about. That seemed kind of weird.
It was one-sided.
Yeah. But that was just another strawweight fight. Nothing great. Yeah, I don't really have much on it. You got something for us, Austin?
Dude, it's Carolina. Be happy she won, dude. She's
Dude,
37.
I'm getting tired of Carolina.
Oh my god. Be a fucking normal person and not be an asshole and be happy for her. Just be happy. She's on a 4-fight win streak.
Why does she have to cry after every fight? It's
Good.
like the equivalent of like
She's
jumping
not
on
supposed to
people
be
like
winning. She's 37 fighting these younger dudes or
after
younger
every
chicks.
fight.
Oh
Crying
my
wolf.
god.
That's what she's doing.
Oh
Every
my
fight she's
fucking
crying
god.
wolf, and I'm not running anymore.
No, just let her have it. You don't have to be a fan. Just let her have her moment. That's it. She won. Let her have it.
No.
I'm happy that she won. Good for her.
What about her performance?
Wasn't impressive, but there's another solid win against a low-level fighter. It's the same thing we said about the girls in Bellator. Realistically, she shouldn't be winning against these girls. These girls should be beating her, but she's managing to keep to a game plan that's allowing her to stay in the winning column. That's fine. Just get wins. Just get wins. That's all that matters. Because eventually you might get an opportunity at a title fight or a title eliminator or even an interim title. Eventually you will get close enough to be a contender. Right now, she should be a contender considering where the strawweight division is. But even then, it's fine. Like, let her have this moment. Let her have her victories. Maybe even give her someone that's like closer to the bottom of the top 10, top 15 if she's not even there. Just let her get the wins because she's probably not going to have another win streak after this.
All right. You got anything on this, Dangermouse?
No. Next subject.
All right. We'll move on to the main card opener. Bill Algeo decisions. Alexander Hernandez. Bill Algeo has a pretty good performance. I'm not sure 145 is the right weight class. I'm not sure any weight class is the right weight class for Alexander Hernandez in the UFC. But solid performance from Bill. I think Alexander got hurt pretty bad a couple times. Good win. I'm not sure what's next for Alex or Bill, to be honest, but a decent fight. Nothing exciting. Good win. Dangermouse?
Yeah, as you said, a very solid performance by Algeo. Took it 30-27 again on all three judges' cards. Why do I keep saying bloody referees? Yeah, just a solid enough performance. Not exciting particularly. I think it's the only fight I didn't. Excuse me. I didn't rewatch it from the main card. I watched the rest of the main card today. I don't think I bothered with that one. So.
What about you, Austin?
Bill Algeo looked like Bill Algeo fighting a guy who didn't really know how to throw anything, and when he did, he was a step behind. Hernandez is kind of a power striker with a modest wrestling game, but even then, it's like he didn't really have any answers for Algeo. This probably won't move Algeo forward. It's more like a sidestep because Hernandez literally had a win at lightweight against Jim Miller, and for some reason, he took this fight. I think the thing with Hernandez is that you give him a short notice fight, he doesn't have to overthink the fight. He just shows up, fights, and whatever happens. He's probably more likely to win because I think that Jim Miller fight was last minute, and his initial UFC fight against Beneil Dariush was a last minute replacement fight. So, in my opinion, you keep him at lightweight. You don't keep him on the shelf too long. You just throw him in when you need a fight more like a month out. You could probably do better with that. And he's not cutting a ton of weight. And he's probably a decent fighter. He just doesn't have the rhythm nor the coaching staff that you would need to get him back on track. And granted, he's young enough to still kind of fix some of the stuff he's doing. But at the same time, he's either got to learn now, or he's probably going to get let go and probably learn on the way out that you need to kind of adjust your fight game and your game plans. Because God forbid, I mean, you can't learn in the UFC. You can't do that. Like, you have to learn before you get there, and by the time you get there, that's when you kind of apply it. You know.
I think that's a pretty interesting take about short notice. Alex Hernandez not overthinking things and being able to perform better. That's pretty good.
Yeah, listen, just a thing I've noticed. He does better when he's taking things last minute, or at least a short timeout.
All right, so let's move up to the next bout. Drew Dober KOs Ricky Glenn at 236 of round 1. Austin, I heard a chuckle from you. Why don't you give us your thoughts on
I
this?
took Glenn. I thought Glenn would bring a little bit more fight, but apparently that wasn't the case. Drew Dober's back, man. Good for him. Get another win, and his wife and his baby were there. That was cool, interesting. But
Babies
I don't know
at
if you,
MMA are cool.
I don't know. That's just,
Well, you said it was cool.
it was well. So here's the thing. Maybe him being a dad is going to make him a better fighter. I don't know. Maybe. I think it was a dad.
So you're
before.
saying babies at MMA shows is cool.
Well, they're not going to know the difference.
UFC 300, all babies.
Well, you get Michael Chandler with his kids, Connor with his kids, John Jones with his kids. After he beats Stipe, possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It'd be like a family day, like a company picnic at UFC 300. And
all violence team.
Yeah. What about you, Dangermouse? You have any thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I'm quite a fan of Drew Dober. I remember his fight against Bobby Green, where I picked him purely because he was. I figured he was tougher than Bobby Green was. So yeah, nice. I mean, there's not much you can say about it. It was I will dead wrong you live on air because it was 246 of round 1 that he was knocked out. But
God damn it! Wikipedia or Google failed me.
It's close enough.
I'm on MMAfighting.com, so you can blame them. All right, that's where I am anyway. So yeah, very solid performance by Drew. Not really much you can say about it. When it takes him less than 2.5 minutes to knock the other guy into next week. Very dangerous left hand. The guy just couldn't answer it, and once he tapped him a couple of times, that was it. Good night, Vienna. Next fighter, please.
Yeah, I think Ricky Glenn's a former featherweight, and so I'm pretty sure I did feel like there was a size difference in there, and I felt
They used to train together when they were younger.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the thing.
Sorry, I'm misreading. Drew Dober might have said that they were on the same card together when they started with the UFC. That might be what I was thinking of. But yeah, so they're roughly very much the same age.
Yeah, I think they're kind of similar skilled, but like Drew hits a lot harder, and I think there's a size difference there. And Ricky Glenn's still kind of built like a bigger featherweight, and I think all those things just played into Drew's ability to get it done. And I want to say he has the best chin in MMA. Maybe not the strongest chin, but shout out to that thing. And now we'll get on to Joaquin Buckley getting a decision over Alex Morono. Danger, you want to lead us off on this one?
Yeah, this was quite nice. Buckley's return to 170. Obviously, 185 obviously caused him a lot of trouble. I know he had that fantastic first. Well, I can't remember if it was first fight, but that ridiculous flying kick kind of thing, however you describe it. And that made him out to be something that I guess that he wasn't really at the time. If I remember rightly, didn't he go to quite a wrestling core for quite a few fights? And now he's dropped weight, if I'm right there. It looks like he's back on the striking. And he looked, I'm not saying he's the world's greatest striker, but he looked very confident. Morono was tough, and he just wore him down over 3 rounds. And again, looking at the judges' scorecards. It was the two 30-27s, and one guy gave him 30-26, which is probably not unfair to give that a 10-8 round for the final round. Very solid performance by Buckley. I'll have to. It's still outside the top 15 at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
No, I was just going to say I'll have to check the rankings and see what his next fight might be. But yeah, good performance. No complaints.
What about you, Austin?
I picked Morono in this one. I just figured his consistency with his game plans would probably lead him to victory. But Joaquin Buckley showed up with his athleticism and not so much his fight IQ, but like his ability to kind of change the dimensions of the fight, whether he was kind of blast doubling Morono or he was kind of like launching himself into a fury of strikes. Nearly got caught a couple of times, and Morono kind of stayed in there, even though he got hurt a couple of times and was put on his ass by takedowns. And it looked like Morono was overwhelmed with the just power that Buckley was bringing, but he was still game, which is how he normally deals with it, anyways. So it was interesting to see Buckley kind of have to resort to actually trying other means of victory, and I was kind of impressed that he was able to kind of pull out, okay, I'm not just wrestling. I can throw hands, although he still needs to work on it because he does that thing where he kind of twists and keeps everything tight when he's throwing. He doesn't really have the best head defense or head movement. But, he's a player. He's a player. If he faces a better striker who can take, take his offense and kind of use his momentum against him, that has better footwork and has a decent grappling game, or just grappling defense, he's not going to beat them, at least not anytime soon. So it'd be interesting to see him kind of work on those, aspects and, improve on those. Maybe he shows up better with a better wrestling game plan next time we see him out and, possibly work on less, over the top aggressive striking and more work on like singular power shots that can possibly, put him in better, positions. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I thought he had a mostly impressive performance. I thought he had a couple low fight IQ moments. Like he threw a couple spinning kicks that were really slow, and I think he actually paid for it on one of them when he missed. And Morono might have like grappled his back for a second or something, like paying for it. I think he needs to clean that stuff up. But overall, I think he was mostly impressive. Like he's so jacked at that weight class, and he went in there a lot more physical. Like Moreno's built kind of like a almost like a light heavyweight, but he's a welterweight, so he's like kind of carries some extra weight on him. And Buckley used his like enormous physicality advantage because there was like one point where he does a double leg, and he almost like jumps up and slams him on the ground. And I was actually worried that Buckley might KO himself, hitting his face against the ground.
He
Like
almost
there was
did.
a couple big takedowns. What's that?
He almost did.
Yeah.
Buckley did have a nice one in the third round. He got a light kick to the groin, and the ref was going to jump in and stop it, and he was like, he just waved him straight off. He was like, no, let's keep this going. I want to finish this guy off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was really impressed with his cardio, given his size too. Like he actually looked better in round 3 than 2 and 1. Was still putting some volume out there.
He certainly didn't have to leave it all in the cage.
So even though I thought he had a couple not the best moments, it was a good performance overall. I would have liked to seen a finish, but Morono's tough, and it was a good win. And so I guess we'll get up to the co-main event. Joe Pyfer submits Abdul Razak Al Hassan in round 2. We'll go to Austin, see what he thinks.
Be like Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer. Be like Joe Pyfer. Dude's probably ready for someone in the top 15, but I would say just give him one more outside. Let him finish his contract, whatever, because he's talking about how he doesn't want to fight anyone that's ranked unless he gets paid more. Good for him. I would hope so. Went from being Dana's boy to maybe the bane of Dana's existence now. But
Let me stop you right there. He's still Dana's boy.
oh god.
Like in the post fight interview, Dana was talking about how awesome he was and that he was like promoting like he put out a highlight package of him and how great he is. So like Dana's, even though Joe's saying that, like Dana's still all in on him.
All right, good. That might work in his favor then. Good for him. Let him get paid more.
Yeah.
But I did want to say this wasn't the fight to kind of showcase him. This was a fight that was more of a squash match than anything. And Razak is a jacked middleweight who got out wrestled by Joaquin Buckley. So this wasn't impressive to me. So this was more of like if he can just kind of be smart about it, use his athleticism, be careful with his exchanges. He got clipped once or twice, but he kind of shook it off and kind of walked through majority of the strikes that came after him. He also just uses his athletic ability and his physicality because he's a big man. He's not a small middleweight by any means. He almost looks like a goddamn light heavyweight fighting at middleweight. But it's interesting to see what he can do from here. If I was going to put him against anybody, it'd be Roman Dolidze, the big middleweight that's not so much athletic, but a hard hitter and very capable grappler. So it'd be interesting to see him actually go up against somebody that can kind of push him back and give some counters to anything that he has.
What about you, Dangermouse?
Yeah, to be honest, I hadn't really heard much about Pfeiffer prior to the fight. I guess I must have missed him in the general media noise. Obviously, very very fine performance. Looked like he, the first round. I think I haven't got the official cards up, but obviously I think Joe won that one, and then came out the second, and then started taking some of those leg kicks, and he clearly didn't like that, and it was time to get this thing to the ground or get it up to grappling, and just a very nice finish. The fun one I guess was the ref asking the guy if he was tapping at the moment he'd just dropped unconscious, I think. But
yeah, that was a weird one. Like he tapped with the closed fist.
Yeah, I say it's closed fist. You can't really hate the ref for that one. If it extended his hand and it had been fully extended fingers, then yeah, that's obviously a tap. But the refs these days, they don't want to get roasted, and he's not going to die if a blood choke's on for another couple of seconds. So yeah, nice performance. I guess we'll see what happens next for Joe. He does seem to be almost in the Sean Strickland mode of fighter, kind of no nonsense.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty impressive performance. He kind of big brothered him a little bit. Like you said, the leg kicks were really nasty, but I thought he might get a submission right when the fight first started. He looked like he had him in some kind of standing guillotine.
He was going for the arm triangle there. If he'd got him to the ground, the commentary team were all saying, if he hits the ground, this could be all over or very bad shape for Al Hassan. But he managed to wriggle free from it.
Yeah, another great performance from Joe Pfeiffer. I think he was big on the he had a good performance on the Contender Series, and like Dana bought him a house, and he's looked like a killer in his first few UFC fights, as far as I remember.
Yeah, I'd heard he'd been bought a house, but
yeah, he had that injury where he was facing Stoltzfus and was out for like a little bit, maybe I think I want to say a year, but he's improved. He's gotten better every time he's gone out there. I mean, hell, he flattened Meerschaert. He's shown that he's capable. The thing is that I wouldn't want them to kind of rush him to the title. There's no need to. He's still young in his career, and it would just be ideal to put him against competitive middleweights. Like honestly, you could probably put him with like guys like Chidi and Chikwani or RoboCop or anywhere around the middling pack of middleweight. Give him another 3 wins around there, and then by the time he'll be ready for the top 10 or even just the outside of the top 15.
Yeah, if
know,
he wants unranked fights, RoboCop might actually be good. I don't think he's ranked. Is he?
I don't think so.
Yeah, that might be a good matchup. Just because I want to see him fight higher level competition, but I forgot that he's like on not until I get a new contract or whatever. So just kind of thinking down a little bit.
Oh, yeah, well, he's got time. There's no need to rush him. Plus, if he does and he loses to a top 10 guy, he'll just be in the same place anyway. So might as well just get more experience while you're at it. Just get more ring time.
Okay, so with that, let's get into the main event. Bobby Green with a pretty decent upset KOs Grant Dawson at 33 seconds into round one. Flawless victory. He absorbed 0 strikes. Let's go to Dangermouse.
What can you say about it? The, just Bobby came out, did his usual dancing around a bit with his arms low, and then caught him with that switch stance, stepping straight left, wasn't it? I think because I think Bobby Green was roasting MMA Guru about it. Said he must be blind if he thought it was a jab.
Yo, Warden thought it was a jab too. He posted that shit. I saw it. I didn't call him out on it, but
Yeah, I saw the post about it.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, the fight lasted 33 seconds. Obviously, you can't say much about it. It was perfectly timed shot. Obviously hurt Dawson very badly, dropped down, and Bobby was just jumped on top of him, and that was it. Game over. Pile the pressure on. Good night, Vienna. Nice, easy night for Bobby.
Yeah. What about you, Austin?
I thought Dawson was probably going to come in, make it a hard fight for Green, and Green was just going to have to survive and kind of throw a couple of hands, skate against the cage like he normally does. He doesn't like to lead more often than not. He's usually a guy that's got his hands down so he can, adjust easier when he's going from defensive grappling to, throwing his hands. I did not think it would be this outcome never crossed my mind. Not even a little bit. I mean, he's got fast hands. He's got KO power, but this wasn't a possibility that I thought. I thought Grant was going to have the ability to kind of get inside before, not be better at the striking, but just clinch up against the cage and look for damaging ground and pound after he takes him down, looking for top position more often than not, and just kind of wearing and tearing on him, kind of like in a Khabib sense. But that wasn't even offered because Green basically lulled him into a weird like false security and then just caught him with a counter. He literally led with the left hand, I think is what it was. I thought it was a right, well, because he was so quick. But I looked at it again in the replay. I'm like, oh damn, he literally changed his stance and came back in with the left hand and fucking caught him. It was clean. You can't really say more about it because we didn't really get to see anything. It sucks for Dawson because he was on a goddamn win streak, except for the draw against Glenn, in which he almost got finished. And that wasn't even in the situation where he was striking with the guy. He literally got caught almost in a submission, and it it's sad because he had momentum going into this, and now it's all out. He has to physically go back into the deep end of the pool and restart, and it's gonna suck. He's young enough, but man, I don't know if you can rebuild too quickly off of that either.
Who does Bobby fight next then? After that,
Oh,
surely
God.
the logical choice would be Matt Frivola, because Frivola beat Dober. Dober beat
Oh,
Bobby.
you got MMA math.
Yeah, it's got to be MMA math, hasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I actually like. I
And
think he's gonna fight Hooker.
and then Dober could have Jaylene Turner.
Yeah, I mean, I see how your math. I see how those fights make sense, but I think Green might want bigger names, and like both Moicano and Hooker want to fight with him, and
Is he
I
saying
think
yes to
Hooker's the
those?
bigger name.
Well, they should take the Hooker fight then. Hooker's
I think
higher
that's a
ranked.
bad matchup for him.
Very likely.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's a fun fight that I'd like to see. I don't want to see either of those guys lose, but like they were tweeting about it on social media last night. And
It makes sense. Dawson was ranked number 10, and Hooker's ranked number 9 right now.
Yeah.
Okay. There we go. Yeah, because he just beat Tony, even though he poked him in the eye, but that's fine. He gets a win over Dawson, who I don't think he had a win over a top 10 fighter either. So him getting a win against Grant Dawson doesn't do too much except put him in the rankings, which is great. If he fights Dan Hooker, beats Dan Hooker, he's on a 3-fight win streak against notable names. That's not easy to do in this division.
Well, Grant Dawson was kind of a big name. He had, or not like a big name, but he had a good amount of hype coming in. But
Oh, no, he was notable. That's the kind of guy you want to avoid because you know it's a tough fight.
yeah, I think he was overrated as hell. That's why I kind of went with Bobby Green. I didn't think the fight would go like that. I actually kind of thought Dawson might win, but I thought Green had a shot, and I didn't expect to go that fast. But like, Dawson went to a draw, and I think he got 10-8'd against Ricky Glenn, who's like a big featherweight. And people were all talking about what he did to Demir Ismagulov, but I
That
actually
was
think
impressive.
Demir is.
That was a
Well, I
thing where
think
it's
Demir
like,
is like really overrated because
he's coming off of losing to Armin, which is what started that, and then
Armin sucks though, dude. That's what I've been
no,
saying. It all comes back to Armin. No, it all
no.
comes back to Armin's not
Oh
that
my god,
good. So the
god damn
loss
it,
to
James.
Armin is actually not like it was a close fight. That's
Oh my
actually not
god,
that impressive because we determined
oh my
in
god.
previous podcasts that Armin sucks.
He
So people are
doesn't.
over like looking at.
He's by definition very competitive and very good, but it's neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. I'm thinking if you're gonna put Dawson against anybody, you got to put him up against maybe Turner, or you put him up against Fervola. If Fervola loses his next fight, maybe I don't know. Like, there's not a whole lot of upside to losing this way, and then even also losing to a guy that wasn't in the top 10. So it sucks, but it is what it is. It's a fucking Shark Take of a division.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let me ask you this, Austin. Do you have any big takeaways from this card, or anything that you learned? Anything surprised you?
Realistically, there's not this main event did surprise me, but if I'm thinking about it, no, there wasn't a whole lot that you can take from this fight night and be like, oh damn, I'm excited for what their next fight is. Bobby Green is probably the only one, and even then, it's like, well, we have to see how the rest of the division plays out, because there was matchups. Now there's a couple, like the rumored Armin Sarukian versus Beneil Dariush. Justin just won against Dustin Poirier. Michael Chandler's MIA until he figures out if he's fighting, Connor or not, and that's stupid on his behalf. Not because of the opportunity that it can bring him possibly if Connor does choose to fight him, but because he's basically sitting out a year and then even more possibly. So it's just not, if he was looking to get a payday, he better get that payday now. Otherwise, there was no point to him sitting out for the amount of time that he has been. Whereas you're looking at Charles and Islam looking at a rematch, and there's no upside in the division for that because A, the first fight was non-competitive. B, if it does go, if Charles does get the upset win, it is going to be a trilogy that comes after that, and that's not going to be anytime soon.
What about you, Dangermouse? Do you have any takeaways?
Not really, I don't think.
Mm.
Like I said, Buckley looked quite good at 170.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to seeing what happens next with him. Do you have any matchups for Buckley you'd like to see at 170?
Guess there's always a Kevin Holland fight or Neil Magny.
Oh, I like that Kevin Holland matchup. They haven't fought yet, have they?
They have at middleweight. You can do it again, though. You can do it again.
Yeah.
It's a different weight. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that or Michael Chiesa, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
If KSA comes back from that devastating loss he took from Holland.
Yeah.
Oh,
all right. So
I was gonna say real quick.
Go ahead.
My bad. You could put him against Jeff Neal.
That's actually a fun matchup.
I don't think he's booked right now.
Jeff Neal?
Yeah, it's a hell of a jumping competition, though. But Jeff Neal's ranked 8.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit, yeah. I mean, that's a fun fight, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
might not
that's
be
too soon.
realistic. Yeah.
Holland, Magny, and Chiesa are all that's 13, 14, and 15. They're perfectly reasonable competition.
That's fair.
Maybe Fluffy Hernandez after his next fight, if he doesn't
No,
move
that's
up in the rankings too much.
that's a middleweight.
Oh shit, that's right. That's right.
He doesn't look like a middleweight, but he's
Yeah. All right. So with that, you guys have any other news or business you want to attend to?
So
No, not that I'm aware of, at least. Other than Bellator probably not getting a whole lot of views on some of their stuff because they had, I think, a package that they just put out. I think, if I'm not mistaken, for some of their fighters on their YouTube channel, and it was getting like a decent amount of views, but nothing like some of the other stuff that they would usually put out. I don't know if that correlates or not, but I haven't checked it as of late. It was after last night. Usually they do like the fighter interviews. They put the videos in there, and then they put the videos of finishes from fighters on the card previously, or like highlights of the night. It wasn't a whole lot of views, so I don't know.
All right. We'd like to close up our weekly show with Discord shout outs or YouTube shout outs, podcast shout outs. And this week I'm going to go first. I'm going to kind of go a different direction. I want to shout out myself, Super Dave Hair Tax, for just an incredible job with picks this week. We're in a MMA Discord with like all kinds of members. Like there's so many people picking on the fights. It's ridiculous. Countless numbers of people pick these fights. And there was only one person that picked Bobby Green, and that was me. So great job. And also, I'd like to get into this other pick. Nate Maness. Everyone, like no one was into him. Like most, I think, and 4 people ended up picking him, but like no one was into him. And I said, they're both going down to 125 for the first time. His previous losses were against Russian killers. Like you're sleeping on it. So I convinced some people to change, and so some people joined me in that win. And so I think that just deserves to be recognized that the 2 biggest upset picks I did. So good job to me, and I hope to keep up that success in the future. How about you, Dangermouse? You got a shout out?
I might have backed your pick up for Dave as the Discord member of the week, but I seem to remember him making a really, really dumb comparison to Colby and Justin Gaethje as regards deserving their next title shots. So I'm gonna have to say no to Dave on that one. So yeah, fuck it, I'll just leave it at that. We'll go for a neg rather than a positive.
Thanks.
Anytime.
Way to
Dave.
take a segment and run with it.
There it is.
Austin?
You know what? I do have 2. Shout out to Joe Piper. Do you like Joe Piper?
Mm-hmm.
Joe Piper. Do you like Joe Piper? Anywho, shout out to that dude for wanting to get better contract, even if he is Dana's boy, and Dana still admires him, and he knows what he wants, and he's able to say it. Good for you. You're able to, chart your own course on your career. It's what more fighters need to do more often. Secondly, shout out to Bobby Green, who now probably may have to adjust how he drives and not leave his car hood window open, and possibly lose $20,000 because he decided to leave the hood of the car. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not the hood, the sunroof open. So, note to self: don't ever leave $20,000 in a bag, ever, unattended.
With the sunroof open.
He literally left it. Yeah, he just left the sunroof open.
Though that had to be. I think that's an inside job because I don't think people just go around looking through sunroofs and snatching bags.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, usually if you leave your door, well, that's the thing where it's like if there's like carjackings, or not carjackings, but people going through your shit in your car, instead of having to replace a window, people just leave their doors unlocked, and whoever comes around usually just kind of moseys through, see if there's anything worth taking, they'll take it, and if it's missing, you just kind of report it stolen. but like usually it's because like nobody wants to pay to have their car fixed because it's more expensive than the shit that they're taking more often than not. So, I mean, except for $20,000 being missing, that's just stupid.
Where was he when he was robbed?
Was he in Vegas? No.
Maybe I'm not sure. I think he was driving around giving out money to people or some weird shit.
I know. I think he generally was trying to like. Well, I mean, I think he had that. I think he likes to have the money on him. I think ever since that whole debacle with the head spearing. So I think he'd rather not have to worry about the money being not on hand. So I mean, but that's just the case where it's like, well, then you keep it on you at all times. $20,000, man. I'm not leaving that shit anywhere.
I wonder if you can file an insurance claim for that.
You probably can, but again, it's just dumb. It'll be hard to get that money back.
Yeah.
Grant
And with
versus
that,
Jake.
we will close up Just Believe Radio episode 8, where we covered Bellator 300 and Grant Dawson versus Bobby Green. This has been Super Dave Fairtax with Austin.
Yeah.
Austin.
Yeah. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
And Dangermouse.
Bye.
You all have a great one.
Dave,
The next noise.
absolutely so.
What sucked? Not me.
La, 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 la. Good job. Yeah.